The following days turned into something akin to watching a living organism that had finally stopped hiding its true nature. It seemed that 3i/Atlas was now deliberately revealing its capabilities, or at least had stopped masking them. Every new set of images brought more confirmation that the object was going through stages with no analogs in nature. If earlier the separation could still be explained by exotic models of fragmentation, now the only possible explanation for what was happening was the concept of a function. The comet, if it could still be called that, was doing something, and it was doing it consistently, as if following a predefined procedure. The turning point came with a set of images captured simultaneously by three independent telescopes: Hubble, VLT, and the Canary Observatory. For the first time, it was clearly visible that the two cores were rotating slightly relative to one another, not chaotically, but toward the direction of the nearest point of the solar magnetic stream. A natural object has no reason to adjust its orientation to minimize resistance to a magnetic flow, but spacecraft do this constantly to stabilize their attitude. This was the moment when the technological analogies became too obvious to ignore. While modeling specialists struggled to explain the maneuver, spectroscopists detected another anomaly. A faint but distinct mirror-like reflection appeared in the reflected light spectrum. Not a visual reflection, but a spectral one. This meant that the surface of one of the cores had developed a segment that reflected light as if it had a smooth, dense structure. Nothing of this kind should exist in icy natural bodies, but it appeared immediately after the cores began moving toward the solar magnetic stream, suggesting a reactive change in structure, as if the object were adapting. The most unsettling discovery came from high-contrast images. After complex digital processing, lines became visible that no one had noticed before. They were barely perceptible, thin, almost straight, running along one of the cores. These lines could not be cracks. They were far too regular, too even, too similar to panel boundaries. This was when physicists first said aloud what had previously only been floating in the air. The outer structure of the core resembled a hole covered by a thin layer of gas and icy dust that had until now concealed it beneath the chaotic envelope of a comet. But if there truly was a hole beneath the surface, a question arose. Why did it start to reveal itself only now? An answer emerged as well. Infrared data showed that after the separation, the temperature of one of the objects began to rise. This did not resemble heating from the sun. It resembled internal activity, as if systems beneath the ice were powering up. Natural objects do not activate anything. Artificial ones do. And if 3i/Atlas was going through an activation phase, then the appearance of structural lines could have been the result of internal heating or energy release. Even more questions arose with the new radio data. At the frequency where weak pulsations had been observed earlier, a new signal appeared stable, repeating, unusually linear. It matched none of the known natural forms of radio emission. It correlated with neither solar background nor cosmic microwave noise, nor reflections of Earth-based frequencies. But the most interesting part, the signal came from both cores. And the difference between the two signals was just a few milliseconds. Such a delay is characteristic of systems operating jointly, but outputting data in slightly offset streams, as would happen if two modules were exchanging information. Meanwhile, specialists studied the structure of the bridge connecting the cores. In the latest data set, the line between the objects appeared thicker and denser. The level of infrared emission increased, an impossibility for dust. Moreover, the shape of the line began to bend slightly, as though a flow of energy were moving along it. This curvature mirrored the movement of the cores, as if the bridge were a flexible energy transfer channel reacting to changes in orientation. At one of NASA's working group meetings, a hypothesis was voiced for the first time, one previously considered too outrageous to discuss. 3i/Atlas might not simply consist of two parts. It might be a dual-module probe capable of separating, merging, and adapting to environmental conditions. In this theory, the separation is not destruction, but a transition into operational mode. The bridge is an energy or information conduit. The parallel motion is module synchronization. The pulsations are internal communication. And most importantly, the infrared glow is activation. But if it is a probe, then the inevitable question arises. A probe for whom? And why is it here? No scientist has provided an answer yet, but everyone now understands that 3ICE/Atlas is not just a strange object. It is the first recorded instance of an interstellar body showing signs of structural organization, active behavior, and internal processes completely incompatible with natural phenomena. Data fragments continue to arrive, and more scientists now lean toward the idea that we are witnessing not destruction, but the activation of a mechanism hidden beneath ice and dust for millions of years. The word comet is no longer appropriate. When two objects move together so perfectly, as if following instructions, this is not a comet. When they begin pulsating at the same frequency, this is not a comet. When a luminous connection forms between them, despite the vacuum, this is not a comet. When the object exhibits signs of internal heating, this is not a comet. And when lines resembling a structural framework begin to appear on its surface, this is definitely not a comet. Now the main question is no longer what 3ICE/Atlas is, it is what will happen when the activation process is complete.